Grinder has been great, guys. I mean, it is super fun. It gets a little hot and steamy, but it's what it is. The club grinder in my garage, fuck. I may have officially created the greatest wedge grind known to man. I've spent the last 2 days testing this thing, and it shocks me every time I hit it. So I have a proposition to Vokey or any other OEM who's willing to hear me out. Let's break this thing down. If you want to be really good at short game, you need to have extreme control over vertical strike height. And in a wedge grind, that is going to be heavily dictated by how wide the sole is and how much angle there is. This right here is a Vokey T grind. It is touted as one of the most popular wedge grinds on the PGA Tour, and it's relatively versatile in the sense that it is a dual sole, meaning you have a slightly angled front section here, which allows you to play more square face shots, but then you have all this relief on the back edge, which allows you to open this thing up extremely and still get the leading edge underneath the ball. The reason a lot of really good players choose a T grind over other dual soles on the market is because this plays relatively narrow considering how much relief there is back here, and there's not a ton of angle in this front section of the sole. That gives you a lot of control over vertical strike height. The main gripe I have with this thing is the high point here right in the middle where these two angles meet. And that high point will be touching the turf prior to ball impact if you are not either A, opening up the face a lot and using this back section of the sole as more of a skid plate, or B, leaning the shaft more and getting ahead of the high point using this front section. The high point touching is not really an issue if you're playing in nice course conditions because you can rely on very consistent deflection off of the turf. But when you get into more inconsistent conditions, think like soft, grainy Bermuda, into the grain, muddy grass, that high point touching is like a death sentence. Because in crappy conditions, when you cannot rely on consistent deflection, if you're playing a shot where the high point is touching, it's essentially creating a sticking point. Here's a really good visual of seeing that sticking point, and you're going to notice this if you don't lean the shaft a lot or if you just open the face slightly. Thus, I have created what I am calling the T-star. I've essentially taken a T-grind and created the most versatile variation of it. Remove the high point from the middle of the sole, so in inconsistent course conditions, you can get this thing closer to the golf ball without that high point touching and sticking. You still have all this relief back here to open it up as much as you want, but now you have a bunch of relief on the front section of the sole as well, so this thing is a lot harder to stick into the ground if you're playing in soft conditions, inconsistent, grainy Bermuda, doesn't matter. Now, obviously, this was based on what Vokey did with the K-Star grind, but the main difference, our T-Star is a lot narrower. And because it's so much narrower, it's going to give you more control over strike height, which a lot of really good players are going to tend to appreciate. You can really see the difference here. I mean, the versatility in this thinness of width is just insane. But because there is so much relief on the leading edge, it still sits up and it's incredibly forgiving. My proposition to Vokey is they should add this offering to their hand ground options, make it a star. You can add to any dual sole lob wedge, sand wedge, gap wedge. Or if anyone from Callaway's watching, might be cool to offer an updated Z grind in the Opus SP. I think a little bit narrower and more heel relief, but this was very close. It was pretty sick. The TW grind 56 is also close, but I think there's more angle in the middle and they only offer it in a 56. The grind is just too good to be ignored, so I'm hoping somebody hears me.